Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Organic Oasis in California, Zone 9B. Tonight for dinner, I'm making a roasted chicken thighs with butternut squash, kale, and golden beets from our garden. Now, the butternut squash I only needed half of the one that I picked or that I harvested last summer. The other half I used in another recipe that you can find online. And the golden beet, I pulled it, and you can see right up here the golden beet plant that I just harvested. This dinner should be delicious. I already started the process, so follow along and let's have a delicious dinner tonight, all organic and healthy. Thanks for watching. So here to start the recipe, we need 2 cups of butternut squash, which I basically just took a half of my butternut squash that I had harvested in the summer. And I had half of it left. The other half I had cooked another recipe with. I just cubed it up and threw it in here. I probably have more than 2 cups, but the recipe calls for 2 cups. 1 golden beet. I went out and harvested a golden beet and peeled it and diced it, so it's rather small. 1 small onion, which I used a purple one and just sliced it up into bigger pieces like this. And then I put 1 tablespoon of olive oil over the top, half a teaspoon of thyme, and a little bit of salt and pepper. And I just stirred the entire thing up, mixed it all up, and that's all it is. It's just the beet, the butternut squash, onion mixed with olive oil, thyme, salt, and pepper. And now it just calls to spread it onto your sheet pan with parchment paper, or I have a silicone tray in mine, just an Amazon silicone tray. Nothing special, nothing fancy. So I'm just going to kind of push this out here like this. And now it's ready for the chicken. In the same bowl that I had tossed the beets and the butternut squash and onion, I put in the chicken thighs, and I'm just using the Costco organic chicken thighs, boneless, skinless, and it calls for a pound, but I think mine was like maybe 1.5 pounds. So now on the chicken, we're going to go ahead and put a tablespoon of olive oil. I don't have enough chicken. I don't think I need a whole tablespoon. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit. We want just enough so that the seasonings can stick to it and it doesn't stick to the silicone and burn. Now it calls for a teaspoon of paprika, and I use a half a teaspoon because it fits nicely in my jars, in my spice jars. So I'm going to need 2 of these, and I'm almost out of paprika. Ooh. So it calls for a teaspoon. I'm just going to, I'll barely make it, but that's okay. We'll make do. There we go. And we're going to put in a half a teaspoon. So I'm just going to put in 1 of these because this is a half teaspoon of cumin, a half a teaspoon of thyme. Mine is a powdered thyme. You can use the flaked thyme. Salt. I'm just going to put in a half a teaspoon of salt and a little bit of pepper. And you can use a spoon to stir it around, or you can use your hands if you'd like. But we're just going to stir it, mix it all up. Make sure the spices will stick to the olive oil and coat the chicken. Sometimes I actually like using my hands because I feel like I really can spread that seasoning all over. You just got to wash your hands really good afterwards. Okay, so we get this nice and coated. Okay. Right. Oh, I almost forgot my pepper flakes. This is optional, but these are my delicious pepper flakes that I dehydrate every year after growing all my peppers. So I'm just going to put on half a teaspoon, and I'm just going to do a quick mixing here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take the vegetables that we have here on this tray, and we're just going to put the chicken right on top. And we can go ahead and just kind of spread it around so that it cooks evenly. Just go ahead and spread this around. Now, some people, I have read before that some people do not like the idea of putting raw chicken with your vegetables to cook because they're concerned that something is going to go wrong. Well, we're going to cook this recipe until the chicken is 165 degrees internal temperature. And we will make sure that everything in the chicken is cooked really well, and therefore everything on the pan should be equally cooked well, and any germs or bacteria should be taken care of by cooking to the 165. I'm not worried about it. If you're worried about it, then you might want to cook your chicken separate, cook your vegetables separate, and then add them together and toss them at the end. I am not concerned about it, so I'm going to go ahead and follow the recipe and just roast my chicken with the vegetables at the same time. So now we're going to put this whole sheet pan into a 400-degree oven for 25 minutes, and then we'll test the temperature and make sure it's 165 or over. It is cold and rainy here in Northern California, Zone 9B, but I'm out here. I'm going to pick some kale for a delicious dinner tonight. The chicken and vegetables are roasting in the oven, and now I just went out and harvested my kale. Isn't it beautiful? And I'm just going to go ahead and pick the leaves off. We want about 2 cups of chopped kale. You can just tear your kale. You can go ahead and pull it off and chop it up if you like the smaller leaves. I don't use the stem because it's very bitter. But I only pulled 3 leaves off. I only have 1 kale plant going right now, and I've been using it every day, so I don't want to strip it naked and then it'll end up dying. So I'm just being gentle and taking off a few leaves at a time, and we'll let it rejuvenate and grow more leaves. But I'm taking off the kale. We're going to chop it up. I'm going to mix 3 teaspoons. It calls for 3 cloves of garlic, but it's to your taste. And I am going to go ahead and just put 3 teaspoons in, and we'll mix up the chopped kale with the garlic, and then after 25 minutes, when my timer goes off, we'll spread this over the vegetables and chicken, and we will cook it another 10 minutes. And then when it's ready to serve and the chicken is at an internal temperature of 165, it will be ready to serve. And then I will juice this lemon from our garden over the top of the entire dish. So that's what we do. This is going to be a very healthy and delicious dinner. So the way I'm going to do this is just put this all back into the bowl. I want to get every piece of kale in here. This looks like it's probably a little less than 2 cups. But if you went to the store and bought kale, you could add more if you have an abundance of kale, but I don't want to strip my plant bald. So now I'm just to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and just put in 2, 3, it calls for 3 cloves. And I'm just going to go ahead and I think I'll use my hands because it's easier to really get a good mix. I'm going to mix this in with the kale. Okay. Great, fantastic. I just took this out of the oven. It was in for 25 minutes. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and sort of remove, I'm going to just move the chicken over to the side for a minute. And I'm going to sprinkle the kale. This is, remember that we just did the kale with the garlic. Just going to put it all in here, as much as I can get in. And I'm just going to kind of mix it around, toss it with the butternut squash, the golden beet, and the onion with all the seasonings. Just kind of mix it around here. Then I'm going to put the chicken back on top, or kind of nestle it in here. Maybe I'll even flip it over. Kind of like that. And we're going to put it back into the oven for another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to do a temperature check and make sure the chicken is really cooked. I actually like to get it a little bit above the 165 for safety. And then at the end, we're just going to squeeze lemon over the entire dish. Okay. So back into the oven it goes. This has been cooking another 10 minutes at 400 degrees. So I've got my nifty Javelin Pro temperature thermometer. I'm going to take the temperature of the chicken and the thickest pieces. This is almost 180 here. This is 180. This is 180, 190. So I'm really comfortable. This thicker piece here is 175. I'm very confident that all of this is cooked well and there's no danger of any safety issues here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze fresh lemon from our lemon tree all over the entire dish. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and squeeze lemon. These lemons are from our lemon tree. These are the very last of our lemons from our lemon tree, but they're really sweet and delicious. So I have my really cool lemon squeezer here. It's the best I've ever had. I really like this. I just bought it at the grocery store. But I'm going to put my lemon in and just squeeze the lemon juice all over the dish. Now, this is going to add some acidity to the dish and enhance the flavors. If you're not a lemon lover, just put a tiny bit, or maybe even serve this and give everybody just a wedge of lemon, and they can decide if they want to put it on the dish themselves, or they can test a little bit, and if they like it, put more. I know that I'm going to love this with the lemon. So I'm just putting the entire lemon juice all over this. And with this particular lemon squeezer, I always flip it and try to get the most juice out that I can. So I'm putting this on our plates. Doesn't this look delicious? There are 6 pieces of chicken. So I'm trying to make sure each chicken thigh gets an equal amount of vegetables. But doesn't this look wonderful? Yum. Doesn't this look delicious? If you like these recipes and these tips and tricks for growing in California, Northern California Zone 9B, composting, growing organically in a suburban backyard, and then using your harvest to make these delicious, nutritious, organic meals, please follow Tomato Tim and I and our channel. We are not monetized right now, so we're just doing this in our spare time, but we could really use your support. And if you'd like us to continue making these videos, we would love to know that you're enjoying these videos, and we'd like to build a community with you as a part of it. Thanks for following us.